I don't like it. Never have. Much like a festering turd, this gun is pretty much the ugliest thing you could ever hold in your hand. It's uncomfortable. The ergonomics are bulky and out of date because little has changed since its inception in the 1980s. And yet, while the VCR, the Walkman, and the rotary phone have all gone extinct, the Glock perseveres. It is the most beloved and simultaneously the most hated pistol of all time. And even though I can feel the taste of bile and blood rising up from the pit of my stomach as I say these words, we have to get past the ugliness and give this thing a fighting chance to prove itself. Alright, here we go.
People love their Glocks, and at the same time, people love to hate on Glocks. Now, no matter which camp you are in, there is one universal truth. These guns are extremely reliable because they've been battle tested the world over. Like it or not, the Glock is the most popular pistol on the entire planet. So, let's get into it.
There is hardware that was made to win beauty pageants, and there is hardware that was made to shovel manure in a field. This is the story about the manure thing. If the 1911 is a regal stallion on the horizon, then the Glock 19 is a wild boar sifting through a muddy bog. So what is this thing? And why does everybody have one? Well, in practical terms, it is a single action only striker-fired semi-automatic pistol chambered in 9mm. The slide and the barrel are comprised of steel, while the grip module is made, very famously, of synthetic polycarbonate resin. That's right, these things pretty much wrote the book on polymer frames. The Glock is the original gangster of plastic. As we mentioned earlier, the Glock is the most popular pistol in the world. By some estimates, there are over 20 million of these things out there worldwide. Is that an accurate count? I have no idea, because no one really knows. This number came from the internet, and the internet is wrong about literally everything. But one thing we can be sure of is that there are more Glocks out there than any other gun, by a long shot. So what makes these things so incredibly popular? Is it the plastic? I mean, let's be real, pretty much everything is made out of plastic these days. So it might have been cool in the 1980s, but now it's not really that special. Is it the price? I mean, I guess that might have something to do with it, but most other companies in the polymer pistol world have comparable products in the same price range. Glocks typically tend to be somewhere right down the middle, which, once again, is not really that special. Is it perhaps the ugliness? It's perfectly realistic that something can be so utterly ugly that it comes full circle, all the way back around to being downright adorable. Now, that can't be it. Just trying to create beautiful product shots of this hulking lump of pig iron is running a serious risk of damaging our camera equipment. Clearly, if this oversized brick of thermoplastic is failing at every attempt to be even remotely interesting, there can only be one reason that explains why these things are so popular. Reputation. You can drag them through the mud, drown them in pond water, run them over with a truck, bake them into a cake, or conduct any of the million idiotic torture tests that the internet can come up with. And no matter what, they just work. Glocks have been tried and tested in virtually every form of combat operations the world has ever known. From the military to SWAT teams to private security, these guns have seen it all, done it all, and smashed through every challenge the world can throw at them. When the professionals need a pistol they can bet their lives on, they depend on Glock.
Alright, say what you will about the guns themselves, but I think one of the unsung heroes in the entire Glock ecosphere is in fact the magazine. They're lightweight, durable, relatively inexpensive, and they're virtually everywhere. So much so that a great many companies are now building super high quality pistol caliber carbines based on the Glock magazine. So if you are interested in creating compatibility across your entire arsenal, the Glock mag will be with you every step of the way.
Back in the day, the cowboys used the same cartridges for their wheel guns and their lever guns. This was one less thing they had to worry about when literally everything in the Wild West was trying to kill them. Today, the Glock magazines are indeed convenient. And as we mentioned, a lot of manufacturers are making guns which accept these tried and tested shafts of plastic. So if you're the kind of person who likes compatibility across your arsenal, you could easily build your entire 9mm gun collection to run on these mags alone.
All right, friends, let's take a minute to talk all things Glock. This is a Glock 19, and it's pretty much the original Gangster of the Glock lineup. It's essentially a subcompact polymer pistol. It's basically a pot-bellied pig. It's short and fat in any direction that you look at it. It has a short barrel and it has a very short grip module. So if you have gigantic gorilla hands, you're gonna have an extremely difficult time working with this pistol. You're likely gonna have a pinky hanging off the bottom because the grip module is very, very short. Now, Glock has about 1 million of these things. They all have different numbers. The numbers don't make sense to me. I'm sure they make sense to somebody. But the Glock 19 does, to my understanding, have a kind of a larger brother, the Glock 17, which has a longer slide module and a longer grip module. So if you have huge hands, the 19 might not be for you. And the 17 would certainly be something that would be right up your alley. I'm sure you can probably get extended magazine pads that would make this grip module a little bit longer. So if you do have larger hands, you want a longer grip module, but you do want to have that compact slide for a concealment or a carry pistol, that's probably an option for you. Now these guns, I know that I basically spent the entire episode talking about how terrible the ergonomics are on these pistols, but I have to admit, this is a Generation 5 gun, and they have re-sculpted the grip, so it's actually very comfortable. So all of my ragging about how Glocks are completely ridiculous and they haven't changed since the 80s, that's true for the most part, but these newer models are actually very comfortable. You can get an excellent grip on this. It has great texturing all across. So pretty much everything that I'm saying about how Glocks are ugly and how they are uncomfortable, it is true to a degree if you look back various generations of these guns. The new ones are actually quite nice. It is a very enjoyable shooting experience, I will say. Minus the recoil, we'll get to that another time. The trigger. A lot of people like to complain about triggers. This is a completely stock configuration. This is straight out of the factory. I haven't done anything to this gun, and I really like the trigger. I don't have a single problem with this trigger whatsoever. It's crisp, it's clean. It's got a little bit of a mushy take-up kind of at the beginning there, but that's fine. And it's actually quite a hard trigger to pull. It's got a little extra heft to it, which I personally like. I don't like really featherweight triggers where if you sneeze on them, they go off. I think that's great for competition shooters, but if you're kind of in the sort of novice world like I am, I think a little bit of a harder trigger is not such a bad thing. So kind of moving along, the biggest problem I have with this gun is, I'm gonna say, the ergonomics for reloading, right? This magazine catch, flip this guy over here. This magazine catch basically feels like it's been stuffed with chewing gum. It's squishy and weird. It's hard. It doesn't really give you a super positive eject. When you push the button, the magazine just kind of flops wherever you want to go. If you fling it like John Wick, it'll go flying and that's fine, but it doesn't actually have any kind of spring tension that's gonna get that next magazine out of there so you get your next one in. And also in its stock configuration, there's not a whole lot of help. You're not getting a lot of help down here in the base pad. If you were to put a funnel, like a big mag well on here, that would probably help quite a bit, but then that removes the concealability of the pistol. So in its stock configuration, it's actually quite good for everyday carry, but I find myself it being very clunky getting these mags in and changing magazines and doing anything quickly. That's more on me and less on the gun, I think. Again, you see shooters out there who are exceptionally proficient with these Glocks because they've been training with them forever, and I appreciate that. I tend to have a little bit of a hard time because I'm a little bit more hoity-toity. We tend to shoot our big, oversized competition pistols with big mag funnels, and so when I get a kind of a polymer gun in my hand, it gets a little bit compact, a little clunky for me, but ultimately, it's an absolutely excellent gun. I've never had a malfunction out of this the entire time. And that's where Glock's legendary performance and reliability comes in. That's why they have such a huge following. So it's worth picking up a Glock just for that reason alone. I personally believe that everybody should have one of these guns. They are absolutely 100% stellar, reliable, every single time. It just will never fail. If you want an absolutely fail-safe gun, Glock 19.
That's right, you heard me. Everyone should own a Glock. After all the quippy language about bloated iron pigs, outdated ergonomics, and comparisons to extinct 1980s products, Glocks are and always will be absolutely fantastic firearms. You don't have to like Tom Brady, but the guy does have 6 Super Bowl rings. And no matter how you slice it, that's one for the record books. Alright, price, magazines, blah blah blah. How does the thing actually shoot? Well, that's kind of a loaded question. It definitely works. The legendary reliability holds up without fail, and the Glock 19 devours ammo with a ferocious appetite and keeps coming back for more. Round after round, this thing does not stop. The gun does not care whether it's eating cheap garbage ammo or premium caviar. It just works no matter what. And this steadfast functionality alone is enough to understand why these things have such a cult following. The actual brass tacks shooting experience, on the other hand, is not so good. The recoil impulse is absolutely atrocious. Every time you squeeze the trigger, this gun is doing everything it can to jump out of your hands and go flying over your shoulder. And it's easy enough to see why when we take a closer look at the design. Let's preface this by examining something a little more elegant. This is the CZ Shadow 2. This gun has been designed to drastically reduce recoil by utilizing some relatively simple physics. To begin, we have an all-steel frame. The grip module is very heavy, which helps to counteract recoil energy. Furthermore, the slide, by comparison to the grip module, is very lightweight. When we divide the gun by the slide rails, we have less mass up top and more mass down below. This mass ratio is the winning formula for combating felt recoil. Now, when we look at the Glock, we see the exact opposite. Here, the steel slide is very heavy compared to the lightweight polymer body. All of our mass is up top, which typically serves to increase felt recoil. So, is this a problem? Well, the Glock cult will tell you no, it's not a problem. Just shovel a steak into your mouth and wash it down with some bourbon. Then turn your hands into a vice, crank down that death grip, quit your bitching, and learn how to shoot like a man. On the other hand, the haters are going to conjure up any excuse they can to find problems with this gun. The recoil is likely to be at the top of their list. Yes, this bloated plastic pig kicks like a demon on a fentanyl trip, and shooting it kind of sucks. But like we said before, it does just work. So, at least there's that. At the risk of sounding crazy, I think that everyone should own a Glock. The reliability factor alone is enough reason to have one. If nothing else, you can always count on it. You don't have to like it, but you do have to admit that these things are pretty remarkable pieces of hardware. For that, they deserve respect. Furthermore, they provide a good baseline by which you can compare other guns. After all, pretty much every modern polymer striker-fired pistol out there was built to emulate the Glock. So in a way, it's kind of a weird godfather to many of the other guns on the market. And if nothing else, it gives you something to complain about. In the end, there's no way around it. Glocks suck, but they're also awesome. People love them, people hate them. Dogs chase cats, cats chase birds, birds shit on cars, and cars run over dogs. The world keeps on turning, and no matter what, the Glocks keep on shooting. Even if they are really ugly.
One more for safety. 2 and 3. All right. All right, friends, as always, thank you so much for joining us. I certainly hope that you had fun on our little Glockumentary. Now, if you have any interesting Glock stories of your own, please be sure to drop them in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Also, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. We have a lot of cool new stuff coming up, and I don't want you to miss out. That's going to do it for now. Stay sharp. We'll see you next time.
Nailed it.